It's going to be harder to book ice time or go for a swim in the city of Toronto.
There's no end in sight. York Region will not step in to end the transit strike. Humber News starts now.
Hello, it's Friday, December 2nd. Welcome to Humber News, coming to you from the Broadcast Center here at the North Campus. I'm Colin Ellis. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Marian Khan. Ahead on our show, we have all your news, sports, and entertainment highlights, as well as your 5-day weather forecast. But first, Colin has our top story.
A list of swimming pools, arenas, and zoos have been identified by the city for potential savings as Toronto struggles to balance its books. The list of facilities on the chopping block was released yesterday against the city's wishes. Reporter Aaron Best has the story.
This is one of the arenas where ice time will be lost under Mayor Rob Ford's proposed 2012 budget. The ice will no longer be available here between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. It's one of 10 arenas that will remain dark during the day to save the city money. This employee, who doesn't want to be identified, says he's worried about job losses, particularly among younger employees. Teacher John Conforzi brings his class here regularly and says it's the kids who will lose
Well,
out.
it's going to be, it's not going to be a good thing because a lot of them have learned to skate simply because of our ice time that we have. And also we have a school hockey team. So now if we're not allowed to practice, that means no hockey team. And
The city wasn't planning to release this list, but did so after it was leaked by a newspaper. The arenas where hours will be reduced are Long Branch, Chris Tonks, Bayview, Lambton, Habitant, Commander Park, Phil White, Pine Point, John Booth, and Baycrest. Swimming programs at Toronto schools could also be losing funding. Bedford Park, Frankland, Gordon A. Brown, Hillcrest Community Centre, Runnymede Collegiate, Duke of Connaught, and Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate could find themselves afloat without help from the city. The proposed budget also anticipates the mothballing of 2 public swimming pools, Fairhaven at Islington and Dixon, and Stanley Park Pool at Trinity Bellwoods. Just last year, the city renovated the Stanley Park Pool to the tune of $600,000. All of this is just part of a plan designed to save the city about $88 million. But swimmers and skaters wonder if the cuts are worth it. If you want to get in extra ice time to practice that wrist shot, Toronto might not be the best place to do that. Arenas as empty as this might just become the norm. For Humber News, I'm Aaron Best.
A trail of military email correspondence is causing more problems for Defense Minister Peter MacKay. MacKay has always maintained that his helicopter ride from a remote Newfoundland fishing spot was part of a search and rescue training mission, but information obtained by the Toronto Star raised doubts about MacKay's version of events. The emails reveal it was suggested that the mission should be under the guise of search and rescue. One of the military emails responding to the request expressed concern and read, "If you are tasked to do this, we of course will comply. Given the potential for negative press, though, I would likely recommend against it." One email raised the question of how the military would respond if someone used a cell phone to video the minister getting on board the chopper and then posted it to YouTube.
City Council has rejected a motion to strike down Toronto's gun bylaws, but the fight isn't over yet. Council voted yesterday in a closed session to keep the ban against private firing ranges and gun manufacturing in place. Council's decision has been appealed by the Canadian Shooting Sports Association and will now be decided on by the Ontario Municipal Board. The ban has been in effect since 2008.
Police are investigating a letter sent by an animal rights group threatening to poison food in Toronto's Chinatown. This comes after the city banned shark fin in October. The letter contains racial slurs and warns that rat poison would be spread on meat, fish, and produce being sold in the area. The director of the Chinese Business Association says they have received hundreds of hateful letters since the ban was passed, but none as serious as this.
After 6 weeks of picketing, there's still no end in sight for the York Region transit strike. York Region called a news conference today to announce they will not seek arbitration or back-to-work legislation. 500 workers are off the job and over 40,000 commuters are still being inconvenienced.
The unemployment rate is out and it's not good news. Canada lost 18,600 jobs in November. That's an increase of 0.1 of a percentage point and brings the unemployment rate to 7.4%. The number of full-time jobs actually increased by almost 35,000, but that was offset by a loss of more than 53,000 part-time jobs.
Honda is issuing a worldwide recall on 27,000 of its vehicles for defective airbags. The Japanese automaker says the airbags may inflate with too much pressure in a crash and send metal and plastic pieces flying and cause potentially fatal injuries. The recall affects the Accord, Civic sedans, and Odyssey minivan models made between 2001 and 2003. In the U.S., the recall includes some Pilot and CR-V models. Over 300,000 vehicles are being recalled globally. To find out if your vehicle is on the recall list, you can visit www.honda.ca/recalls. Honda says there have been 20 accidents related to the defect, including 2 deaths in 2009.
MPPs from across the political spectrum are supporting a private member's bill to overturn Ontario's pit bull ban. Tory MPP Randy Hillier introduced the bill and has the support of New Democrat Cherry DeNovo and Liberal Kim Crater. DeNovo says breed-specific legislation is cruel and doesn't work. The ban came into effect in 2005 after some high-profile incidents. It prevents people from owning, selling, or breeding the dog.
When we come back, we'll have more news from around the world and the country. Reem Jazar will have the sports news, and we'll have your weather forecast with Kathleen Finley.
The wet flurries moved in this morning, but don't worry, things are looking up. The flakes should be gone by later this afternoon, and it's Friday. More to come after the break.